What's up, guys? It's the Four Horsemen Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Josh Romine. With me tonight, I got Alex Deviney Stoner and Brent Walker. How you doing, guys?
Where's Van Cleve?
Well, I think he had. Whoa, is that him? I think he had to sleep. He's tired. He's tired boy. No, I think he has family over or something. He's doing something.
Yeah, he's watching Handmaid's Tale, which is what I'm going to do after this podcast.
So I've never seen it. How many seasons are out?
This is the fourth season, third season. I don't know, but anyway, it's about what America's going to be. It's actually we were just talking about time traveling. This is what America will eventually be. Is in Handmaid's Tale. Yes,
it's like future.
It's basically like the synopsis of it is basically that there is an uprising similar to Pakistan, Iran, a religious uprising. And so this religion kind of took over America, but there's some issue with women and being able to conceive. So you're a very special person if you can have a child. Thus, you are a handmaid, which gets passed around to all these other dudes. It's weird. You got to watch it because I can't even explain the bizarre situation when they bang each other. You got to watch it. It's crazy.
Only on Hulu.
Only on Hulu. Does that mean I need to download it? I mean, does that mean I need to find it and put it on?
Yes.
Put it on something.
Yes, it does. Because I would like to watch it. I started watching Chernobyl because I'd heard nothing but great things about that. So
I just finished it last night. The last episode was put up yesterday. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I heard it's nuts. I heard it's really, really good though.
No, it's so good.
But you know what else is really, really good? Running backs, which is what we're going to be talking about this show.
I love running backs.
Yeah, everybody loves running backs. They're the most fun thing to talk about.
Greatest thing in the world.
And we don't have Van Cleve here to weigh us down on it. So we can just look at his picks and make fun of him. We were originally going to talk like a top 15 or top 20, but I just kind of want to go with the flow, see where we get. We'll talk a little bit about our rankings, how they differ, talk about a few different strategies, and I think that we'll easily fill an hour with this.
2, 3, maybe.
Do you I should have asked you this before we were on air, so this is a little bit of a bubbling around. Do you have the ADPs?
No, but I can easily look them up.
I would get that ready to go because I would love to know, for instance, like I just kind of jumped up, some players that we're kind of looking at here. Did Van Cleve even put Darius Geis? Oh, yeah. Like where we're putting Darius Geis is right around the about the early 20s. What did you have?
Probably right around there.
21. Yeah, you and I are the same on them. I don't know where you're at, Brent, because you haven't gotten that far.
I was about to put him at number 20, but I'd probably have him 21.
Yeah.
He just missed my top 20.
Yeah, I'm just curious where he's going because he's one of those guys that I'm kind of the most curious about because there could be a lot of value, but I think that also it's safe to draft him because he's not going to be your number one. And depending on how the draft is going, he might not even be your number 2. You could somehow scoop him up if he falls.
Yeah, Fantasy Football Calculator has him going 52 overall to 503 in a 10-person draft, but 52nd overall.
If you get him in the 5th round, I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'd take him in the 4th probably. So we're just kind of jumping right into Darius Geis. That's just the guy you want to talk about.
I just wanted to throw it out. Well, I just think that of all the players now that are going, I think that he is one of the more interesting ones because we don't know what to expect from him yet.
Did you trade him?
I did
in our main league. Okay, and who'd you get in return?
That's the one where I got Mike Williams and Kerryon Johnson for Geis and tall Detroit Lions wide receiver
Galladay.
Galladay, who I also absolutely love. That was hard. That was hard for me to part with. But then I also got his number 1 pick too, which I then traded back to him for. So
that trade was terrible for him. It was a good trade for you. I think instantly I texted Brent. I was like, "This is garbage."
WTF?
Yes, WTF, buddy. But Van Cleef's super low on Kerryon Johnson. Just another.
Honestly, I love Kerryon Johnson this year. However, I can understand why you'd be low on him. I really do.
You have him outside of your top. You have him 18th. I have him 18th. I have him 18th as well. Our rankings might be similar. Van Cleef has him 24th.
Now, just to play. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say Brent has him 16th. So
okay. Since Van Cleef is not here, I'll play devil's advocate on here. The Lions have trouble running the ball. Period. They are not, and as bizarre as it is, they have had so many coaches, and they have perpetually not been able to get a running game going. And that's what you kind of look at. And you know how I am with history and all that stuff like that. That's what they characteristically do, which is bizarre because they had one of the greatest running backs of all time. So you would think that they would be a running team, kind of like how the Steelers are, where they just crank out great runners. Doesn't matter who the coach is.
Yeah.
But Detroit does the exact opposite.
Kerryon looked pretty good before he got injured last year, though.
Yeah, he looked great, but they weren't using him right.
Preseason. All he had to do was really beat out Garrett Blount last year. Theo Riddick was the pass catcher, but this year I feel like he has such an open opportunity, except C.J. Anderson's there, which I don't really think he's going to be a change of pace guy. I think they give the shot to Kerryon, see if he runs away with it, because from everything I'm hearing is they are dedicated to run the ball. And I know history shows that they're a passing team, but they've literally gotten rid of every single past coach. Jim Bob Cooter's gone. Caldwell's gone. They have a new coaching staff. I think Kerryon Johnson could have a huge sleeper-like season.
Yeah, sleeper-like. I don't know if I'd go that far. I feel like he's still getting drafted kind of early.
I could see him being a top 10 running back this year.
Yeah. That's probably his upside.
I think that's his upside. But I think that where Van Cleef has him is his floor, like a low 2. That unfortunately, because of just how that team has been, they've been lackluster forever. And you're just kind of waiting for these things to kind of break out. I could see that him being, at best, a number 2, like a low 2, or he could be a good RB1.
Yeah, I'm switching over to Fantasy Pros ADP just because I like that it gives me like the rankings within the positions. So like Kerryon Johnson's 39th overall, the running back 21. Geis is the running back 25, just for reference. But I think that's fine if you're getting them in the 4th, late 3rd.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I mean,
I don't know. I'm fine with it. So let's look up towards the top of our rankings for a second. So we all had Saquon except for Brent. Brent has been
trying to be different,
beating this Christian McCaffrey drum for a minute. I mean, and we all have.
Oh wow,
Christian. Huh?
Oh, I was just saying because he had McCaffrey at like 4 before he redid it, and I was like, because I didn't realize that he didn't. He didn't update it, and I was like, this is the dumbest thing that I've ever seen Brent do.
It was interesting,
but now it makes sense. Now he's got it right.
Brent loves him some Christian McCaffrey, and I think he's already on record thinking he could finish.
Like I have him on the homepage here of my phone.
He's your lock screen.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, if McCaffrey is number 1 RB, I would not be shocked.
No,
I think that everybody's going Barkley because honestly, it's weird because Barkley is really flashy and everybody's talking about it. But I feel like McCaffrey is just as good, could possibly be better. and there isn't as much hype. I know he's going number 2 overall, and or number 3, but to say that Barkley is a clear-cut first pick, I don't think it's as clear-cut as people say.
Yeah, not like Gurley last year. You know what I mean? Like Gurley was the clear number 1 pick last year. And that's kind of what Barkley has become, though. But I think you're right. I think that Christian McCaffrey should be in the conversation for it. I think
here's an idea. If you have the number 1 overall pick of your redraft league, and you've got a guy sitting at number 2 that just absolutely loves some Saquon, make that trade. Make that trade.
How would you? What would you try to trade? Just get anything.
Straight up, do what New Orleans Saints did to get Williams. Trade everything, and then there you go. I think it's good.
You're talking like flipping positions from the 101 to the 102?
I don't know.
I guess if like you're sold on it.
I'm just saying if you can get let's look Dynasty. If you could get rid of Barkley to get McCaffrey and some picks, I would do it.
Yeah, if you can get something out of it, I'd be fine with that. But I don't know. I love Christian McCaffrey. I think that he's going to be a stud. I don't think there's any doubt in that. I wanted to ask you guys a question though. So before we just like dive into all these guys, like what pick would you have to have in the first round to consider selecting a wide receiver?
None.
Because we're all pretty running back heavy.
None.
There's none. You draft 12 running
Straight
backs
up
before you drafted a.
Let me look. Yep.
Brent, how about you?
I think I'd draft 8 running backs before I would consider selecting a wide receiver.
So 8's exactly where I'm at too.
The only one that I would like, because we were talking about this off air, is Hopkins. Really, that's the only one to me that is consistent enough that I feel comfortable, like getting rid of a possible starting like high caliber running back, because he puts up points like a running back. I don't think the other guys do on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that's even like the Fantasy Pros ADP. Like Hopkins is the number 6 overall player.
Too high.
Devontae Adams is overall number 9. And Julio Jones is overall number 12. So they've got 3 wide receivers in the top 12. But I kind of agree with you, Alex. I'd have a hard time taking a wide receiver in the first round, even if it was Hopkins. I don't think I could do it.
Because most of them are going to high quality wide receivers, top elite talent. Wide receivers are going to be there in the second if you choose.
Yep.
Yeah, because that like
Devontae Adams, Juju, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, Michael Thomas, all these guys are going to be there in the second round, perhaps, if nobody takes wide receiver in the first round.
And honestly, I still think that even if you went RB, you're still going to have some really good high caliber guys
like AJ Green.
I would pick Tyler Boyd before I'd pick AJ Green. That's what I.
That's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
No, it's not.
You're right. You've said way dumber things, but
exactly,
it's pretty dumb.
I made a bet about Cordell Patterson. Oh, God, every time
you nailed it.
Getting what was it, 800 yards?
Yeah.
Come on.
That was pretty dumb.
Yeah, it was dumb.
That was supposed to cancel out my DD Westbrook pick.
Yeah.
Which actually ended up coming up pretty close. Love me some DD. But I don't want to get too far off track.
I bet you like the D.
Oh, love it. You know how I love DD Westbrook though, for real.
I know. You penned a narrative about how much you loved him.
He's my boy. This is his year. We'll talk about that another day though. So I guess if you would take running backs all the way in the first round, who's your last running back that you'd feel comfortable with? Is your running back 1? Like what's the latest one you would feel okay with? Say you were a team that decided to take DeAndre Hopkins and the.
Okay. Honestly, how I have it, if I went Hopkins and then I came back around and somehow got James Conner, I'd feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I wouldn't feel terrific. But where's a guy like where's Marlon Mack going?
Marlon Mack's ADP is. Where you at, Marlon? So 31 overall, running back 16.
Third round.
Yep.
Okay, so
Mid 30.
I have him way higher than that. I would honestly I would draft Marlon Mack in the second round. Like I have this weird like I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, I should join a league and make sure that I have Marlon Mack as my RB1 and see what happens.
Yeah. It's
like a roll of the dice. If you don't want to do an RB right off the bat, I think that I don't know. There's just something about that's why I highlighted him.
Yeah, he's a good one to target. Like if I took a running back in the first, like if I had like one of those first picks and I had Saquon or Christian McCaffrey or any of those guys, and you pair them up with Marlon Mack, that's a pretty vicious duo.
Yeah,
Marlon Mack looked amazing at times last year.
He had some, yeah.
I mean, he dealt with some issues as well, but Colts didn't add anybody in the draft. They brought in Spencer Ware. They still got Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins. Like, they didn't really do much to make you think that they weren't going with him.
Yeah.
And what was it that Irsay said something last year about Mack, like, being, like, an extreme workhorse? And it ended up panning out. Like, they used him. They used him a lot.
Yeah.
Brent, what are your feelings on old Marlon Mack?
I really like Marlon Mack this year. Last year was kind of just like a watch and see. You weren't really knowing, and people were drafting Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins because they thought that maybe that one of those guys would take over for Marlon Mack. And it was nice to see Marlon Mack actually perform well, both in the passing game and the rushing game. And it seems like he got the vote of confidence from the GM and the coaching staff. So they think he's a 3-down bell cow back. And if he could get 20 touches a game, I mean, he's going to be a running back easily.
Yeah. That's
and when they got into the red zone, they were giving the ball to Marlon Mack, and he was rushing it in for touchdowns. So he's got touchdown upside with that high-powered offense too.
Yeah, the more I think about it now, I don't know. It might be a mistake to let him slip out of the late second round. If you have that pick, if you're picking from the 1 or 2.
I mean, Alex, you have him ranked 1 spot above Le'Veon Bell, 2 spots above James Conner. Le'Veon Bell's been going in the first round. James Conner is usually going at the early part of the second round.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, Ed, I think that's, when you look at when you make your own, rankings like this, that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's like, okay, I have Marlon Mack as an RB1. So if I can wait to get that RB1 later on, then I can grab one of these other guys that's right around there and then know that I can get a guy that I feel is an RB1 caliber later on in the draft. You don't pick based on your rankings. You pick based on the draft. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, yeah, you kind of like use your rankings as a guideline to just help you move it through it. But you're right. You have to be like able to adjust, take what the draft gives you. But
can I throw out a real quick? I think we've talked about this. I want to throw this out real quick. The worry about Todd Gurley, I hope it continues, because I will snatch up every little bit of Todd Gurley as he tumbles in fantasy drafts. You people are dumb.
It's so like Fantasy Pro still has him as the number 7 overall player in the running back 6. But like if you looked on Fantasy Football Twitter right now and listened to people talking about him, you would think that he was going to retire.
it's crazy. Like, this is one of the things that I've being in, I don't know if we could say being in this business, but playing fantasy football as much as we have.
Sure. Being in this business.
It is so much like politics. It's insane. Like, somebody starts talking about, like, somebody having a knee issue, all of a sudden it gets spiraled out of control. The player is, like you said, retiring, and then they come out and do exactly what they've always done, and everybody's like, "Oh, he had an amazing year." Well, no shit.
It's definitely public opinion. It's trends. Trends tend to sometimes get blown out of proportion. With Todd Gurley's case, I do feel like as this offseason goes along, his range of outcomes keeps increasing. And when your range of outcomes increase, usually your draft position starts falling. Every time. I mean, he has the upside. We've seen it. He's been a running back, the top overall running back for 1-2 straight seasons now. But, I mean, you know what he can do. It's a matter of all this speculation with the knee, them trading up into the third round to grab a running back. A guy who they love, who they've seen in rookie minicamp now, and they love this guy. He's an explosive playmaker. And then Todd Gurley, maybe they limit his touches. Even if they limit his touches, he's still going to be a running back one.
Yeah,
right.
Even on limited touches. Now, if you can get him at value like that, you have to snatch it up all day long.
Yep.
But that's the reasoning, is the range of outcomes keeps increasing, so his value is going to keep falling, and that's awesome for drafters.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing that I think is crazy, is that
worrisome for dynasty.
Yeah. But the problem is that I see with that is that honestly, we can move over to the comparisons here. Now, obviously, they're not in the same caliber, but you look at Todd Gurley, who, had he finished the season and there weren't any knee issues, it'd be Barkley and Gurley. We wouldn't be having a discussion. But those last couple games, he was hurt. He doesn't play in the playoffs. So now, like you said, his career's over.
Well,
another guy,
he was supposed to come back in the Super Bowl, and then they barely used it. I mean, the whole thing is really worrisome.
It is. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if a player is hurt and they held him out the entire time, we wouldn't be talking about this. It's because they tried to pull him back when he wasn't ready. And so now we're like, oh, he didn't play in the Super Bowl even though he suited up. Well, okay, if a person hurts themselves and is not able to play the entire playoffs, we don't talk about the fact that they didn't play in the playoffs. We just say he got hurt. He'll be back. You know what I mean? It's only because he was suiting up. He just shouldn't have been suiting up. We wouldn't be having this discussion.
And he was saying that he was fine to play. I mean, that doesn't help either. Like, when they were interviewing him, he's like, no, after the game, he's like, I felt fine. I could have played. Like, it's like, oh, really?
Well, but the thing is that the worst person to ask about being okay to play is the player. Yeah. The player will always say he's okay.
And the coaches.
Exactly. But what I was gonna kind of contrast it with, again, not the same caliber back, Derrick Henry. He finished the season so hot. So he's been climbing up draft boards. Don't buy into it.
Oh, I'm buying into it.
Oh, you can have him. You can have him. The first huge chunk of the season, garbage. Garbage. Then he throws together a couple of 200-yard games, and now he's, everybody's looking at him as like, oh, maybe he's going to be, no. We saw what he was. He had a couple of big games. It's just that huge swing. If you end the season badly, you're terrible going into the next season. If you end the season really well, you're going to be amazing the next season. If you have Derrick Henry as like your 1 or 2, you're going to tank.
Well, maybe not your 1. I don't think you got to draft him as your 1.
Well, where's he going?
He is going. Let me look here. He is Derrick Henry. Why can't I find him? He's going RB 17, 32 overall.
Okay, so that puts him in the third round.
Mid-third round.
Highest.
Okay,
I have RB 12 both the Joshes have him RB14, and Alex, you have him RB16, so right around ADP.
But what my point is though is that okay, if you went no RB, he is your number one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I could go 2 straight wide receivers and then get him in the 3rd round if I wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is that I think that's going to hurt your team.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Because I don't think he's that good.
He'd be a fantastic RB2 or an RB3, I think.
I would love him as an RB3.
Draft him as an RB1.
No.
I am definitely on the hype, though. I think he is a volume-based running back. And last year, they bring in one of the top free agent running backs, Dion Lewis, and they expected to run the ball with him like they did in New England, and that didn't work. And then you saw the shift change, and you saw Derrick Henry go up against a tough Jacksonville Jaguars defense and had a huge, probably the biggest running back game of the year.
Oh, no. 238 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Against a tough defense. And, I mean, they just rolled off that, and then I think the coaching staff realized what they had, and it just kept going until the end of the season. Granted, it's, a 4-game sample size, but that won a lot of people their championships even. Or carried them into the playoffs at least, but I think that's part of the trend that's continuing. People are higher on him. That's why he's getting drafted higher. But I also think that is a shift change, and I think that he will be a top running back this year.
I do want to point out the fact that, Romine, I believe that you and I kept going back and forth, and I was saying that Dion Lewis wasn't going to be taking all this stuff away, and you just told me I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't have I thought that?
because if you leave New England, you're going to suck.
I mean, I could still see Dion Lewis having a role in that offense, though. I don't know what happened to him last year.
I mean, he would be good. A pass-catching back, I think. I mean, he'll get some rushes a game, but, I mean, if they do what they did at the end of last season, they're probably going to win some ball games.
Yeah, they should.
They can't put it in Marcus Mariota's hands again. And that's unfortunate for Corey Davis and A.J. Brown owners because I love both those guys so much. They have so much talent, just no quarterback.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Tell me the thing.
The thing is he had, before that day, the most yards he had was 58 yards.
Yeah, I know.
And then he went – what?
Based on how many carries.
Okay. The most carries that he had before to be fair, the Jacksonville game, he only had 17 carries for 238 yards, which wasn't his highest carry.
So take out his 1 carry for 99 yards, and that's still a pretty amazing game.
No, it is. But what I'm saying is that yes, in those last 4 games, he was amazing. And honestly, if you look at his actual, some of his averages are decent, even though he wasn't getting the volume. That's too scary. He only had 2 triple-digit yardage games all year. And you got to take that into account. You can't look at him and say he's going to be you're putting him almost at RB1, and I think that's
only because I believe in the philosophy change in that coaching system. That's my personal belief. I think the coaching is actually going to put Derrick Henry as the focal point of the offense now. I don't think it's going to be a split carry system with Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry is going to get the 18 to 20 touches a game.
But you have to have somebody opening it up for him, though. And there's not really any, but Mariota's not hurling touchdowns, and there's the Corey Davis isn't. I mean, I just feel like that was a couple of fluky games. I mean, they kept giving him the ball because he kept doing insane runs, whereas before they were giving him the ball and he would rush for 4 or 5 yards, and then give him the ball again, and then 3. I'm not saying that he doesn't have talent. What I'm saying is that when you look at a guy and you really there's only 2 games. Yes, the last 4 he was decent, and he had a little bit higher workload. Only 2 of those games were amazing. The other 2 to end the year were mid-range running back totals. So really, people are. I mean, you've essentially lifted him from a borderline RB3 to an RB1 based on 2 games. That's Kevin Cobb kind of stuff.
I don't know about that.
He's at least had years doing it in the NFL.
What are you talking about? I mean, like, he was always part-time, so he can hit a home run. He can hit a home run.
That's what we were waiting on, was that for Derrick Henry to get his chance, though, and be that lead running back, which was what we were hoping last year. And then when they brought in Dion Lewis, that was when we kind of started shining off. But you said Dion Lewis wasn't anything. He did eat into his totals. Dion Lewis had over 900 yards total last year between receiving and rushing. So he did take some of it off of there.
How much of it?
I think he had 59 catches for 400 yards, and then about 500 yards on the ground. But still, that's eating into their totals. Like, I don't know if Derrick Henry becomes a focal point next year, and Tennessee is winning games, he could pay off. But I don't want him as my running back 1.
No,
I think you're exactly right about that, Alex. Like, you don't want him there, but if you get him as your running back 2, like say you start off with.
Okay, I
don't know. A good.
Give me the real quick. Give me a. Okay, so where'd you say he was going? What pick?
Like 32, somewhere around there. I can pull it up again. He's going 32 overall.
Okay, so what pick does that put? I can't do that.
8th pick of the 3rd round.
Yep.
Okay, so we're in like. Sorry, I'm gonna snake it.
So it'd be the eighth pick in the 1st round.
Basically, you're getting one of the top maybe 4 or 5 running backs in the 1st round. 2nd round, it's coming back around to you. Maybe you get a wide receiver coming back to the 3rd round.
You could in essence start out like.
Give me 2 players that I have.
Say here you go. Say you start off Melvin Gordon, Juju Smith-Schuster, and then you're picking in the 3rd round.
That's a little scary to me.
You could get Gurley right now with maybe the 8th overall pick.
If I had Gurley, I'd feel better about it.
Melvin Gordon, Henry.
See, I don't know. I think Gordon and Gurley are pretty close.
Can you imagine though that because there are questions about Gordon and Gurley right now. Am I right? Like we've been kind of iffy like as a whole, as a fantasy family. So do you really want to back that up with a guy like Derrick Henry? Because if both of those guys fail, your season's over. You almost need a sure thing somewhere.
So where are you getting your sure thing? Say you're picking in the 8th. Well, if you're drafting in the 8th position, what do you do then?
Mixon.
I was just about to say Joe Mixon.
I mean, I love Joe Mixon, but is he really a sure thing?
I think that he has
the
higher floor. I think he does have a higher floor than some of these guys that we're talking about right now, because we've got like kind of what Brent was saying. We've got this like wide range of, just thought processes of some of these players. Joe Mixon just is kind of like sitting right in there. Like no one's like saying, oh, he's going to be the best running back of the year or the league. Oh, he's going to be an RB2. Like he's just right there, and he hasn't really moved around a whole lot.
That's because last year a lot of people thought that Joe Mixon could have made that leap, and he showed a lot of promise. I mean,
he had
a 1,000-yard season and had a ton of receptions, but he's still kind of at the back end of that first couple tiers of running backs almost, because he didn't explode like we thought he would last year.
This is the year he explodes.
This will be the 3rd season. He's now got a new coaching staff that is offensive-minded, not defensive like Marvin Lewis was. And, this guy's coming from the McVay coaching tree, and I know, yada, yada, it's the new thing. But
he's 12 years old and he's coaching football.
But so the new coach, being a McVay disciple, maybe Mixon is the Gurley of.
I was gonna say, if they put in that Rams playbook, like that's scary.
Yeah, Mixon could be the number 1 overall running back drafted next year. Could be.
I'm just saying that my team won a Super Bowl with a 50-year-old man. That's all I'm saying. And McVay did not win a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. That's all I have to say about these like bringing up these like 8-year-olds to coach football, whatever.
I mean, McVay's doing a pretty good job though. You can't knock him for that.
He didn't win a Super Bowl.
He didn't, but he's doing a pretty fantastic job. I wish I was Sean McVay.
I mean, can you imagine that? Like our age, like we could be coaching a football team. That's amazing.
Just killing life. He's living his best life.
He is living his best life for sure. Crap. What were we getting at? Oh, Mixon. Yeah. Okay. And let's put the amount of talk that we have had, Romine, completely aside here. But I do think that AJ Green returning and the emergence of Tyler Boyd helps Mixon. If AJ Green can stay healthy, that they have to focus on both sides. And then what's his name? Oh, that guy that kind of was in trouble. Was it No, not Caldwell. Callaway?
Plays for the Browns.
No, there was some guy that they had. Never mind. I thought that they had a young rookie inside guy last year, but maybe a
running back?
No, wide receiver.
John Ross.
Yeah, they had John Ross. They're saying John Ross could do the Brandon Cooks role in the Rams offense.
You know what? I get hooked on these guys that are the fastest. Usually, if they're the fastest, they aren't good. They're not not Chad Johnson. They're not Chris Johnson.
You're killing it right now.
I know. I'm doing a bad. This is crush. This isn't even beer. Like, this is legit just crush, guys. I mean, I don't know what my problem is.
It's a fancy little thing you got there, though.
It's a Yeti. Dude, this is the most amazing thing ever because you could put bottles in it, too.
God, you must have hit it big. Thing set you back $40-$50?
25.
Wow.
Dicks. Only $25.
I guess that's worth it. Brent, what's the next running back?
Go flat before it gets warm.
Brent, what's the next running back you want to talk about? I'll let you pick out a guy.
What are you guys' thoughts on Dalvin Cook this year? I know you guys did a trade earlier this offseason. I kind of like to get your thoughts on that because he's a guy that I'm debating on whether or not I should have him in my second tier of running backs or third tier. Like right now, I've got him right behind Alvin Kamara and right before Joe Mixon and Todd Gurley. But I feel like I could put him in any order inside there.
Alex, I'll let you go first.
There's been a lot of, crap going back and forth between Romine and I about that as well. He just scares me. I have the kind of thought process that if you are a great running back, you're just a great running back from the start. He got hurt. He started off his first game. It was like, here it goes. I was like, here we go. This is going to be amazing. And then he just kind of puttered for a couple of games, and then he got hurt for the season. Then he comes back, and then it's, back and forth. Like, he's having a decent game. Then he'll have a half where he looks awesome, and then he doesn't do anything the second half. He just hasn't been consistent yet. And the fact that even I've got him at 10, I don't know if I want to trust him as my RB1. Like, he's just scary, but that's where he's going.
And I think that's what you get there. You know what I mean? Like, all those guys have question marks.
I don't know. In my tier, I've got Joe Mixon, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook. And even after that, Marlon Mack, Le'Veon Bell, James Conner. I have him at 10 because he has because I think that he can be that.
Yeah,
but will he consistently put up those numbers?
you have him at the end of your second tier. You have him grouped in with Joe Mixon. I have him at the start of my third tier, like right after Joe Mixon, personally. Like I have him 9th overall in my rankings, but like his upside is so high, but his floor is so low.
Yeah,
like
that's the problem. Yeah,
it is.
And that's
it is scary.
And that's where we're just talking about. That's why if I had the choice between Mixon or Dalvin Cook, I would probably go Mixon because of how high up it is. I'd rather use my high risk, high reward players for maybe like rounds 4 and 5. I don't like messing with the top. Like my riskiest player to me to pick as my RB1, wherever it may lie, is Marlon Mack. Outside of that, I don't know if I want to get too crazy.
I guess the way I'm thinking is his value is very much tied to what I saw last year with Adam Thielen, weirdly enough. Like when Adam Thielen was great that first half of the season, then they finally switched offensive coordinators and they went to a more run-heavy approach, and that's when Dalvin Cook started taking off towards the back half of last year. And I don't know, like, yeah, he was injured, getting over that ACL tear last year or 2 years ago. And, he was getting over that last year. But and then bringing in Kirk Cousins with all that money, it just felt like their playbook was geared towards making Kirk Cousins the focal point of the offense instead of Dalvin Cook. Then the offensive coordinator switch. And now I just feel like Dalvin Cook could have a huge season this year because they did switch offensive coordinators. They did dedicate some draft capital to the offensive line this year. They got a great pass catching and blocking tight end in Irv Smith. Like, I don't know. Things seem to be lining up appropriately for Dalvin Cook to could have a breakout season, in my opinion. That's
I mean, I won't disagree with you that the setting and the setup is good. I'm just worried about the player himself. That's just where my worry lies.
Yeah. So a guy that we all have back to back with Dalvin Cook, except for Brent, is Nick Chubb. Why? I have Dalvin Cook one spot ahead of Chubb. Alex, you have Chubb one spot in front of Cook. VC has the same thing, and Brent, you've got Chubb, 4 spots back from Cook?
See, I think that's kind of one of the weird things about, like, Nick Chubb is another guy that is not really talked about as much. Like, I haven't heard as much, chatter about him. I mean, he came in, he had a one enormous game the day that I traded him. So I got to use him for that day, but then, he switched my team. He's no longer.
I couldn't believe you traded him.
I mean, I did get a number 1 pick that I eventually used to get Todd Gurley and Adam Thielen. So I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, you got rid of Dalvin Cook and George Kittle as well in that deal. So it's not like you just
I'm only upset about getting rid of Kittle. Okay. I'm not upset about getting rid of dead weight. Now we're switched back.
So now Dalvin Cook's dead weight, huh?
I'm switching back. I'm switching back to the. Hey, I'm switching back to the color commentating role. Okay, I'm away from the analyst side of things where I gave my honest opinion. Now I'm back to hating on the fact that you have him.
Yeah, then that works. Like, I love Nick Chubb, and I think a reason, and it's the stupidest reason that people are backing up off him, is because they brought in Kareem Hunt.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't even want to draft Kareem Hunt. Like, does he really hurt? Like, I just don't. I try to play out the scenarios in my head where Kareem Hunt eats into Nick Chubb's workload, and I find it super hard to buy into.
I can see a scenario. I really can. Okay, because first off, Nick Chubb, he had that one huge game. And he looked fantastic. I wonder if, because of everything they've brought in, things are going to change. So what happens if he doesn't fit? What if he doesn't get things going? And by the time, let's just say he has a situation like the beginning, Derrick Henry, where he wasn't doing a whole lot. By the time you hit week 8 and Hunt comes back, if he's not putting up great numbers, they're going to put him in, and then people are going to be fixated on Hunt. And as soon as they start fixating on Hunt, then Nick Chubb, whether he should or not, will feel like there's a target on his back, and maybe he won't perform well. I think that it damages his psyche a little bit that you go after a guy that at the time was one of the top running backs in the league before he was kicked off his team. You bring him in. Why would you do that?
Or it could work the opposite. Nick Chubb works harder because they brought in a guy like Kareem Hunt.
But he doesn't have to work hard.
He cost them nothing, though.
Okay,
Hunt
but why?
Literally cost them nothing. Why not?
Why deal with the media situation? If you got a young team
that could,
you've got a young team with a young quarterback, so you decide to bring a 3-ring circus in because you love the guy that you have.
If you could buy a car for $500 that you thought you could resell for $3,000 without doing anything to it in a year, would you do that?
That doesn't even make sense. What are you trying to say?
You bought a car, right?
Okay.
It was $500.
Okay.
But you can't sell it. You can't sell it for a year. It has to sit in your driveway. But you could resell it for $3,000. Like, you thought you could get more money out of this.
Okay, so
this car.
what you're telling me right now is that they signed him for nothing, and he will sit on a bench and do absolutely nothing, and they're going to be able to get a decent pick out of him?
Oh, yeah. Once he comes back in, I'm not saying he doesn't do anything. He drives him back and forth from work. He does a fine job. Like, he goes in there, he proves that he can still play football.
This
like,
is the worst analogy ever.
That he's gonna get reinstated. It's not my best, but bear with me here.
Turns out it's a sweet minivan.
It's
a sweet caravan.
TVs in the headrest.
Ooh, no TVs in the headrest.
No?
You're going way too far. But it runs good.
Is it because he's going to kick them in the head?
Oh,
well done, Romine. Wow. God, you're a monster.
So you don't. I don't even know what you were saying. I don't know where you were at on this.
Okay, basically,
you think that Kareem Hunt's going to come in and be a great running back?
No, that's not what I'm saying. You said, is there a scenario that he could eat into his carries? And what I'm saying is yes, because he was a great pass catcher and he was a great runner. Now, is that the system? We don't know because we've never seen Kareem Hunt outside of Kansas City. He's a young running back, and before he was let go, was one of the best running backs in the league. So you can't look at that and say, oh, he's just going to sit the bench. He's not going to do anything. They didn't bring him in to not do anything.
Because he's out, 8 weeks?
Yeah. If you're suspended for 8 weeks, he can still do training camp and stuff, right?
I think he can still do camps.
Yeah, you can still do camps and then preseason, but then
once week rolls around, suspended team activities.
I don't know.
I'm interested.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm interested to hear like camp talk on him. You know what I mean? Like I want to hear some of that like kind of coach speak and see what people are saying about him. Not that really means anything, but I'm just wondering if we're going to hear more about Kareem Hunt than we're going to hear about Nick Chubb, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. We're probably going to hear more about Kareem Hunt and how he is doing than hear about Nick Chubb, and that might get into a young guy's psyche. It's possible. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying
and outplaying Kareem Hunt.
If I was a betting man, I don't think it's going to happen, but I like Nick Chubb. I wouldn't have traded him.
I do too. Well, like I said, I ended up with a better running back and a better wide receiver. I have a way better team now than I did last year. Leave me alone.
So I saw, Alex, that you have Damian Williams ranked 15th overall in your rankings.
Yes.
You like that?
As an RB2? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
mean,
I'm trying to go back to our conversation that we had about Damian Williams.
It's a high end RB2.
Super high. Because you talk so much crap about him. Is it because Kansas City didn't really bring anyone else in? Like, what is it? What changed in your mind? Like, what made you switch? Because you said he was just nothing. He was just a guy.
Well, is it a system? Is it one of those things, kind of like in Pittsburgh, where you plug a guy in? Now, I had Andy Reid as a head coach for 10 years, 11 seasons. I can't remember what it was. And there was nothing more frustrating than watching an Eagles game and Andy Reid not running the ball. So the fact that now that is what people are saying is that, like, oh, he's going to be good because of the system. That is why I'm saying, okay, he's just a guy. However, like you said, they didn't bring anybody in. He's still a number one running back on a team that has a guy that can throw 50 touchdown passes. So you have to pay attention to the air game. At 15, right. I don't think that's much.
I have him at 15 also.
Yeah, I don't think 15 is a big
because of the offense. Because that offense was so good last year. Nobody could stop them.
Really was.
Every drive, it was so good. And yeah, they didn't bring anybody in except Carlos Hyde, which
that's right.
A little bit. but at the same time, I think Damian Williams, he showed enough in that offense, especially as a pass catcher. In the playoffs, he caught 3 or 4 touchdowns, I believe, in the playoffs. Caught. And yep. I thought he just looked fantastic in that offense.
He's another one, though, that, like – oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say he fit the role. Like, he was able to do what they asked him to do.
But I guess one of the reasons why, I kind of have said that he's just a guy is that he did not look good in Miami. The argument is nobody looks good in Miami, which is true. And then, like, again, we're looking at such a small sample size, and we're just assuming that he's just going to keep doing the exact same thing that he did the last couple of games of the season, just like, Derrick Henry. And when I look at it, I see this is kind of my whole thing is being a guy that knows how Andy Reid is. He wants to throw the ball. So he now knows he has a guy that can throw 50 touchdowns. So he might run away from the running game completely because that's what he did in Philadelphia. As soon as McNabb got to a point where he was throwing touchdowns more than he was rushing, that's all they did. He would throw the ball 50 times a game. And then it's like Westbrook had 13 carries. And then you look at a stat that said if Westbrook carries the ball 25 times, they win every single time. But he's carrying it 12. I mean, that's what Andy Reid did over and over and over again. He wouldn't change the script.
Yeah. He does have a good upside, and I get ranking him there. It's just I found it interesting because I know that you did not like him before.
I still don't love him, but he's still a number one running back on a high scoring team. You got to at least respect that part.
Yeah. I get it. Where would you feel comfortable drafting him?
I mean, if I got him in the 3rd round, I'd be happy.
3rd?
Yeah.
Brent, you agree with that?
Yes. I'd say mid to late 3rd.
I feel so much better getting him in the 4th. I don't know why it makes that big a difference. It really shouldn't. But, like, when I get him in the 4th compared to the 3rd, I feel a lot better.
Well, yeah. I mean, literally any guy that has question marks, if you can get him a round later than what you would think that he should go.
Well, because, like, I don't think I would draft him in the 3rd. Like, I think I'd skip over him every single time. I don't think I could do it.
Okay, well, 2 guys that, I've got right next to each other. Would you grab Williams or Henry?
I'd take Henry. And I wouldn't really think twice about it.
So you think that there's that big of a difference?
No.
Because I don't know. If I'm looking at situation, I still like Williams' situation a little bit better. I don't know. I was burned by Derrick Henry. I just can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have Damian Williams ranked 22nd, so I'm probably a little too low on him.
You were talking so much crap on me that
I know. Well, that's why I had to double check to make sure where I have him because I knew I had dropped him down. I didn't have him up very high. I had Carlos Hyde really high, and then dropped Carlos Hyde pretty much out of my top 36, 40 running backs. So I've got Damian Williams behind like Darius Guice, Sony Michel, Josh Jacobs, Kerryon Johnson, Aaron Jones, Devontae Freeman.
I do want to point out that I've got Mark Ingram as my 39th running back because that's where he belongs.
I have him as my 30th. We'll talk about him more. I actually think that we'll probably go ahead and just wrap this up, and we'll get VC back on here next time, and we'll talk about more of the sleepers and still even like the back half.
Like MVP Deontay Foreman.
Oh yeah, I know you love some Deontay Foreman. I think you have him and Lamar Miller back to back, don't you?
I do, because I feel like that's the only way that I can justify the fact that I want Devontae Foreman as a RB2.
Deonta, don't call him Devontae.
Dang it!
It's all right. It's close. Everybody does it. You're not the only one. But anyways, thanks for stopping out and listening, guys. And like I said, we'll get back next week. Next week. And we'll talk the other half of our running back rankings. And hopefully Van Cleve will be able to stay awake and not have to watch TV shows with his family and actually devote his time to something more important like us. But hop on Twitter, follow us, 4 Horsemen Pod, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.